legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said, to Trump, but they're getting greedy.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Small Town Underground on this special live Saturday evening here. Special guest with me tonight. His name is Chris Busing, and I'm going to introduce him in just a second. Welcome to the show. We're going to be doing some of these special interviews as we bring more people in. As everybody knows, we've had a busy month in January, and so I've had to reschedule quite a bit of people. And so we'll be filtering more of these in as they come. On the weekends that we can do it. So thank y'all for being here with me this evening, and make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and feel free to share this out to any other groups that you would like to. As we get into our discussion tonight, this is really going to be a conversation, and so I'm introducing Chris Busing. I think a lot of people out there know who Chris is. He's been involved in kind of the political side, activism side for a long time, and he wanted to come on the show tonight with me. So how you doing, Chris?
Hey, Roy. I think we first met at that camp-out barbecue.
Yeah, at the Patriot camp-out.
About a year and a half ago, maybe?
Yeah, it was a little over a year. Mm-hmm. That's correct. And so that was a lot of fun.
And I think I'd seen your show before, and somehow it just kept building. I wanted to come on this show.
Right.
What you are doing is what I've wanted to do for years, and never got around to it, so I just thought I'd come on your show because you got all the equipment here. I mean, this is mind-boggling.
Oh, good deal. Well, we're glad to have you tonight, man. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience? Tell them little bit about yourself, who you are, if you any background information you'd like them to know.
Yeah, the short list. Well, I start with I ran for city council in Clarkston, Georgia 5 times and lost, mostly because I didn't do what my campaign managers told me to do,
Right.
which was, say the stuff that gets you elected instead of all the outside the box stuff. And I've gravitated mostly to Northwest Georgia politics for certain reasons and people I know up here,
Right.
and have just paid attention mostly to Chattooga County,
Right.
Walker County, and Dade County.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're the best up here, We got the most stuff going on. No, we really don't. we're a lot of times playing catch up with everybody else. So.
Well, someone down at the Capitol the other day said to me, seems like all the fireworks in Georgia politics, if there are any, are coming out of the Northwest.
Well, I think
That was when we were, that
Yeah.
was when Colton Moore
Oh, yes.
went back into.
Well, I mean, we have one of the strongest grassroots senators that the state's ever seen in a long time. But I think that we're up here in what I call conservative fantasy land, and we have the luxury of not having to fight the fights that other Georgians have in bigger metropolitan areas and other places. So I feel like that we should be standing up with all of our counterparts in the state, and we have the luxury to do that. I can still, leave my doors unlocked and not be robbed in the night. So, up here, if we're going to be sort of this conservative staple, then we need to fight to keep it. And so that's what we're doing up here.
So I've got I made up a kind of a list, but of things that
Sure.
I'd like to talk about, but we can digress.
Absolutely.
But
what's on your
number
mind?
one, the Colton Moore phenomenon. How do we clone this guy?
I'd say we need 50 more like him all the time. So
When we were at the Capitol the other day, I asked Colton or someone else, what about cultivating people to run in the Northwest for, state rep?
right.
And because there are a couple of positions up here, and the reply was that it's very difficult to
It
get
is.
anyone to run. Why, when you've got a model and a leader like Colton Moore?
Well, the biggest problem I think in this area is it's sort of a business as usual sort of mafia style mentality up here. So we are divided up in this area because I'm considered a person who is an extreme. Okay, and you have a lot of old power, old money that controls a lot of the political atmosphere. All right, and we also have what I would consider as most of our GOPs are more country club style GOPs. It's changed a lot over the last few years, but in these positions, it's very hard to run against an incumbent because of how the power structure is. I mean, we obviously don't have a lot of support out of our leadership in this state. A lot of them would call them rhinos, establishment. And when you think outside the box, like Colton Moore, you get thrown to the sidelines.
Yeah, but I would think that, and I'm not going to be contrarian here. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm an idea man. I would think with Colton Moore's recent incredible, I'm going to say theatrics, but I know he went through a little bit of hell there, that he could mentor like some young people, like right out of high school or something, that want to do something with their lives. You put a bunch of campaign money behind them, and they're idealistic, and he mentored them right through running for a state rep campaign or something like that.
Well, I don't think that that's a bad idea. I know Colton's got his hands full right now, but I can tell you that just being on the inside of how the politics go, I believe that we're going to see some very strong grassroots candidates that will be working on some primaries later on in this year. So,
And you suppose that that's partly because of his inspiration for the incredible
sure.
things that have just happened.
I mean, you got to think about this. So, the way I look at it, you have people like Charlize Byrd in the House and Colton in the Senate, right? They're the two pretty much most overlooked representatives we have. There's more coming out into the fold, right? We see some strong things coming out of Mitchell Horner, out of Catoosa County. There's some others that we're just now getting to know. But, somebody had to start this fire. And, Colton was one of the, he's the leader of that. And what happened in the Capitol in January, which put shockwaves through, the U.S., nobody can understand how this thing transpired the way it did. But to have that, now people are starting to find avenues to speak out and stand up, and they've got that. They're getting braver.
I'm assuming that most of your patrons and audience probably know basically what happened with Colton Moore. But if I may work through it again for my sake,
sure,
but also because people might not have the whole picture. So I think I'd met him once at a GRA meeting a long time ago. But then I heard about this incident on the news. It wasn't from any of the Patriot community. Senator gets arrested. So I called a couple of people. But then I started looking at every YouTube I could find. And then I found where it all started was with he was making the speech recommending against dedicating the name of a building to the recently passed Ralston Speaker of the House.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And in his speech, he basically decried this man, basically saying that this man had been involved in all kinds of weird, nasty things, representing people that had done bad things to women or something like that. But Colton was very incredibly forceful and articulate. So then, and it was about naming a building after Ralston.
That's correct.
And he didn't want that because that would, I assume, send a message to the people of Georgia that people like Ralston are venerated and celebrated when we don't really need to be celebrating that kind of behavior coming out of public officials.
Sure.
So then, to my recollection, they didn't. Who was this guy? Not Roy.
John Burns.
John Burns somehow decided that he wouldn't be able to enter the Senate again.
Yeah, what he did was he wrote a decree that basically banned the senator from entering into the House chamber based on what he said.
Which is not legal. It's not according to any rules.
No, not really. It's just somebody decreeing something just because. So let's back up here for a second. So Colton Moore, regardless, and I always tell people this, you got to take the person out of the situation. So because when you bring up Colton, he's either loved or he's either hated, right? So we take the emotional aspect out of it. What had happened was that late Speaker Ralston had been accused of basically putting the law in place so that he could placate cases for for long periods of time because he was in his position. And through that, there was depositions and there were special hearings about all of the cases that he continued for upwards of decade, at some point, some of these cases.
Protecting buddies?
Right. Basically, a lot of protections in place, a lot of things. They were using the law to his benefit. And as he passed away, of course, some of that it became widely known, and there was a couple people that had depositions on this entire thing. And what Colton was doing, a lot of people get this mistaken because they say that he was rude and accusing of them during like a grief period or when they were trying to have a funeral procession. All that is a lie. He was actually on the floor yielding his time to bring up why that he was voting against naming this building at this college after him. So in essence, he did nothing wrong, but it seemed to upset the leadership, and so they decided to.
He used no foul language.
No, and nobody has come out and against the information that he put out. No one has argued anything that he said. They just simply said it was out of character. It was insulting, and it basically hurt
Okay,
feelings.
so then what's next? Brian Kemp, governor, is making a State of the State address in the House, and that's where Colton decided to go back.
No, it wasn't a decision. So he was banned from the House chamber. So Colton never tried to enter the House chamber. The Senate that year in 2024, they passed a resolution, I believe it's resolution number 4, that states that no member of the governing body shall be, they won't have their rights taken away to do their job. It was a resolution they passed.
Was that because of the...
I would say it could be strictly because of this, because his constitutional duty was during this first session, right? The joint session is what they call it. In the joint session, the Senate will leave the chambers and go to the House chambers. So he was obligated to do his job. So he wasn't trying to enter into the House chamber just because he wanted to. This was the joint session. And so a day before, from what I understand, they had a cordial conversation. The speaker told him, "You're not entering the chamber unless you apologize." Colton told him, "I'm not apologizing for anything. That was my time yielded, and I voted against it, and I didn't do anything wrong." And they said, "If you come through those doors, we're going to arrest you."
And then there was the famous YouTube of him standing there with his arms at his side, no hands raised, stating that it is my constitutional duty to represent my 200,000 constituency in Northwest Georgia.
Correct.
And so then some sergeant at arms, whoever he was, knocked him to the floor. Yeah. And then, there was like 12 Georgia State Patrol standing there.
Well, that was Capitol Police. So even though they're State Patrol, yes, but they are those were actually the Capitol Police, which is the Georgia State Patrol. But some of your officers are just there as the State Patrol. But those were Capitol Police.
So then he went to the Fulton County Jail.
That's correct.
And you were there with camera in hand. That's also a YouTube.
Yes.
And then some days later, he went back.
Right. So once
with your and his entourage, may have been I remember like 100 people there. I took lots of pictures on my cell phone.
That's correct.
And he first went into the Senate chamber, and there was cheering all over the place. There were all kinds of lobbyists in the Capitol, and they were all looking like, for their own issues, abortion, anti-abortion, whatever, gun control, whatever. And they were all looking at this spectacle, like, who's this guy and what happened? And so he went into the Senate chamber, and then he came out, and he expressed that one of the Speaker of the Senate maybe stood by him in regards this false expulsion from.
Well, I mean, there's been a couple of people that have come out, and I know that there was a couple of like a representative that have protested the day it happened, and there's more that's come out, saying that this should have never happened, and it's very, very true. None of this should have ever happened.
Okay, and so then he proceeded to the House chambers with about 100 people following him, including you and every camera.
Yes.
In media Georgia. I think CNN was there, and then he proceeded to go into the House chambers, which was the real contention, where he went to jail from.
Right.
To uproarious cheering when he was allowed back in, because they know that they screwed up.
Of course they do.
And and then there was a big media session, and I was talking with Michael Gargiulo.
That's his chief of staff.
Chief of staff, and I wanted to know, like, what is the issue? What are the issues coming up right now in the legislature? And he said, it's voting on the budget from last year. And he said that Colton will vote against it. And I asked him why, and he said, because they don't want to balance the budget. I said, so what is the state budget of Georgia? He said, like $36 billion a year. There is supposedly a budget surplus, which for
15 billion plus.
15 billion. but also a debt
Mm-hmm.
of $10 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Gargiulo telling me this.
10.6, I believe, but yes.
And Gargiulo telling me this, and he said that Colton wants to, before we pass any budget, he wants to pay off the debt because, as we know, all debt bears interest.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else wants to pay off the debt.
Are you kidding me? The Georgia, they're asking for $4.4 billion more, $4.4 billion more for this budget than the previous budget. Now you tell me why.
So why would any sitting Georgia senator not want to pay off the debt when Georgia actually has the ability to? Federal government's $36 trillion in debt. The federal government has no ability to pay that off, but Georgia does.
They certainly do.
Yet, I was told by Michael that Colton will be the only, probably already happened.
I don't
Will
think
be
the
the
budget
only
has happened
one,
yet, but
the only one voting against it.
yes, he will.
And I said, why? And he says, because all the others are told what to do.
That's pretty much correct.
That's horrifying.
Well, that's the state of politics in Georgia. I mean, that's where we're at here. We have a very tight-knit group of people that are tightly controlled by the powers that be, the leadership, and they don't want to step out of line. And so Colton is used the poster child, the example for asking questions and stepping out of line, and you see what happens to him. He gets moved out of everything that they try to punish him constantly.
Which is why we need some bright-eyed and bushy-tailed kid out of high school.
Sure.
That needs $17,000 a year to run for state rep. No, that's not the reason why you run, but who's idealistic, and who and Colton takes this young lad under his wing, and there's got to be some young person.
Well, if you look at the priorities of the state of Georgia right now, they're trying to get gambling and casinos built all over the state and cash in on some of the sports betting, which is going to lead to far more destruction to me as far as the independence and family.
It's for the Hope Scholarship.
Right, yeah,
good?
Of course, because they can't pass it any other way, so they got to title it under the Georgia lottery, and if you attack it, you're attacking the children, as always. And so where's our priorities in Georgia, right?
Back to Walker County, I was at a campaign gig, and it was for Marjorie Taylor Greene in Walker County, up near the Tennessee line. I think it was at a VFW or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several other, this is before 1916. 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Several other candidates. One was running, I don't remember his name, was running for school board in Walker County.
Mm-hmm.
And he had, you would know tons more about this than I do, but it was something that sticks in my mind as memorable as really cool idea. He had been instrumental in getting a high school or a middle school in Walker County to teach gardening and agriculture, and they had gardens, and that was like couple of hours a day, because agriculture is important and children are learning how to garden. I've never heard anything like that out of a public school in my life. Now, what do you know about that?
I can't. That long ago, I probably wouldn't have known anything about it. I didn't even probably know there was a school board. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got good people in the area that want to focus on things that, teach kids more than just the whatever DEI that gets pushed in the school. I mean, we've got programs set up. We're big-minded here on trade schools and getting people the right education, not just about college or Ivy League stuff. I mean, so yeah, we do a lot of that, agriculture up here.
We never would take back our state, our county, or the country without rescuing the youth in public school.
Sure.
How do you change the curriculum? I mean, how do you influence the curriculum in Walker County public schools, Chattooga County public schools? I mean,
well, there's
I don't know what's going on in those schools, but I know that in Clarkston, Georgia, there's some really nasty books
right
in the library, which
Right, and
You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
we do, and that's one thing we can speak positively on in Georgia. Is there is a bill right now being discussed about removing a lot of that content out of schools. Up here, like I said, things move a little bit slower, a little bit different, very conservative red here. So we don't worry. I mean, we obviously worry, but we don't have to worry as much about these DEI, tactics. In fact, we shut down I believe it's called SEL that our area was thinking about purchasing a couple years ago, which was this whole wonderful Department of Education program that they sell to the school systems, and they promise brand new football fields and the new stadiums and all this if you'll just buy the learning package. And
The learning package.
yeah, and that's they do that everywhere.
The learning package.
Everything comes with an incentive. It's not just about reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's all about
what was in this SEL learning package?
Oh, there was all kinds of different things, like 7. It had to do with a lot of psychological stuff, like talking with psychiatrists and getting into the mental state of everything. It had to me, what I could see, very little about learning and the basic fundamentals.
Yeah,
and more
I don't like it already.
Sure.
So, what do you suppose after this budget vote, Colton Moore and any other good people what is he gonna want to do for the rest of the session, or can he do anything? And then I ask you also, or what that he wants to do, but then also, what do you think, idealistically speaking, should happen in the Georgia legislature now, next session?
Well,
on your wish list, but then also what's
Okay.
Colton up to?
So here we have Colton. I mean, we're right pretty much in the middle of this session. There's hundreds of bills right now. We're finding out new stuff every day about the bills that are being pushed, and it's almost hard to keep track of them. At the same time, we're looking at this budget, which is kind of like another omnibus budget, right? They're not willing to split it up. They're not willing to vote on things individually. We have tort reform that is being worked on right now, and we don't know a lot about this tort reform, right? We're having to trust our leadership to create this tort package. And I believe that our focus right now needs to be, especially in the grassroots, right, is focusing on where these bills are going, how they're being escalated to the next level. Because we all know now that a bill starts off in the House, it has to end in the Senate. They have to come to an agreement. When you talk about education, I would hope that our state is really dialing into the Trump golden age, right? If they're already looking at Department of Education and trying to cut out some of this DEI, this wasteful spending. And I think that our state should be well coordinated with the federal government, and I would like to see the Department of Education be abolished, to be honest, and because we need to put the education system back into the hands of the states and back in the hands of the communities, right?
I'm sure Colton Moore has a list of things that
he does.
That he might vote for that are good, if there's anything good.
Well, they did last session. They voted in school choice, which gives a lot of opportunity and tax credits to homeschooled children. There's a lot of more incentives now where you can pick the schools you want to go to. And, of course, we were met with that by huge property tax increases from our millage rates on nearly every county in the state of Georgia. So I don't understand why.
Didn't work?
Oh, no, they upped the millage rates and everywhere.
To counteract the tax rebates that were given.
I don't know what they've done. They don't know what they've done.
All right, so he's also a champion of getting rid of the state income tax.
Absolutely, and I think it should be well discussed. We continue to get these tax bills that they kind of want to spray paint and put a ribbon on and throw it out there, especially during election year, right? That says, oh, we're gonna eliminate this and we're gonna eliminate the property taxes, the state income taxes, and they're raising taxes on one hand and then giving you a tax rebate on the other, which pretty much cancels it out. So it's a facade. We're not having conversations about really alleviating taxes in this state.
So we know that our neighbor state, just a few miles from here, state great state of Tennessee has no state income tax.
And been operating like that for a long time.
And how's that working?
It seems to be working well. I do keep up with some of the Tennessee politics because they're a little bit further ahead on listening to the people. They're actually looking at legislation to ban these spraying anything into our atmospheres and good bills. They've already got rid of Dominion voting systems throughout the state. Whereas in Georgia, if you ask a question about election integrity, or God forbid you bring up something about spraying chemicals in the atmosphere, they just run from
that's
you.
That's in the Tennessee legislature, chemtrails?
Yeah, there's several states that have they're banning flyover chemicals.
And how
in the
do they
state.
do that? These things fly at 40,000 feet.
Well, you ask me, if you ask that question in Georgia, you get looked at like you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. So
Yesterday I was working on a job site, carpentry, and the day before that, so it was yesterday, Friday. Thursday, yesterday was a clear blue sky indicator, clear blue sky. The day before that started out a clear blue sky. Within an hour, it was entirely clouded over by those planes.
Sure, you can't have an honest discussion about it. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of election integrity. If you look at the grassroots
that's also
election integrity.
That's also on my list.
Look at it in the state. We have one of the strongest election integrity grassroots movements in the South. All right? Now, do you think that these grassroots people are getting anywhere? They can't even so much as to get a comment or a sit down. We could fix our entire election integrity system in this state in a half hour if our leadership would actually sit down with some of these grassroots guys, put them in a room together, and say, you got 30 minutes, let's figure this out. And it would be completely fixed.
Okay.
They will not do that.
I like to think of myself as fairly knowledgeable on this subject.
Sure.
And I've paid attention to these northwestern counties on this subject. But you probably know more than I do. So I think that Garland and Voter Georgia is doing a fantastic job. I've asked him, what's the solution? What do you replace Dominion machines with? And he said, that's not for us to do. Now, he wants to get rid of the machines and wants an alternative, but he said, Voter Georgia is specialized, and I completely agree with him on that. So it's up to other grassroots groups, like, Paper Please, to come up with an alternative. Now, the way I've heard it, and you probably know better, that there have been initiatives in places like Whitfield County, Chattooga County,
Sure.
to bring in paper.
Mm-hmm.
And there's different types of paper. There's different systems with paper. And I know something about them, but there's something called a Cajun clothesline where, there's a long long table, folding table, and the ballots go over a literal clothesline where,
Sure.
the talliers look at them, and then they all go into another box on the other side. And this kind of thing has been discussed at length in these counties.
Right.
Problem is, though, the way I've heard it, is that a lot of the, what do you call them, not the registrars, the election board,
Mm-hmm. The county election boards
are, I'm going to say, scared.
Sure, they are.
Or they've been intimidated by Secretary of State Raffensperger into not experimenting or going to something other than the Dominion machines under threat of lawsuit.
That's 100% true.
By the state of
Sure.
Georgia. And, Georgia has deeper pockets than Walker County.
They've been instructed not to. Absolutely.
But what does the law say? Does Dade County have the ability? I always thought that these counties had the ability to conduct an election the way they wanted, be it paper or Dominion.
Well, I mean, the law clearly states that it's supposed to be a one-day election, and they're supposed to be counted at the precinct level, and all of these things. There are several statutes that are not being followed, and they're because of what you said. The Secretary of State doesn't want anything to do with it. The governor doesn't want to hear it. None of the legislatures are wanting to talk about it.
But does the Chattooga County elections board, which may even consist of only one person, I don't know, do they have the ability legally to actually do it?
I'm quite certain they have the ability to do it. Absolutely. Yes.
Well, that's pleasing. That's
If
a
you
light.
had
That's a lot. That's a silver
if you
lining.
had county boards that would entertain it and would stand up on it, they could do it. But that's not going to happen. And I'll be honest, I've told people this before. Look, the technology is not going anywhere. Perhaps you can't get a paper system. Well, we could get an electronic system that is open sourced technology. That scares people when you say that as an option, because a lot of people don't understand technology, right? But any of the even the stuff that we use right now to do this is all open source. It means that people can go in and look at the code. There's no secrets there. It's open source.
But what about hacking?
Well, I mean, you have protections against hacking, of course, but everything is open source. And if there were hacking, you would be able to see that. See, you'd be able to see in an open source system if there was hacking involved.
But right now, with the Dominion machines, you cannot tell if they've been hacked.
The Dominion systems are completely no, you can't see them. They're proprietary. So they have to be worked on by Dominion. They have to be controlled by Dominion. So you don't have access, even though we now know the password to get into these machines. To
be able to hack it if you
sure,
want.
Absolutely. If you knew what you were doing, you can get into a Dominion voting system right now. And it was proven in a court of law by Clay Parikh.
Back to the state of Tennessee, I think they have something better.
I would hope so.
Well, I don't know what it is. I think they have the old mechanical technology that's not even computerized.
Well,
I don't know. I should know, but I don't.
There's one difference here between Tennessee and Florida and these people that got rid of Dominion. And the fact is that the counties in Tennessee were able to vote them out. All right. In the state of Georgia, we are under contract for Dominion voting systems. All right. So it's a state contract, and that is what they hide behind, is that the fact they have a contract. They can't break that contract. See, it's not a county contract.
But even though the state can't break the contract until the contract is up, you just suggested that on a county basis, the county could do paper.
No, not in Georgia. Of course, that's where you're talking about. The Secretary of State is threatening them to not do that.
I see.
You understand?
So it's not clear that the county can go
Oh,
back
no,
to
and
paper.
the contract technically was null and void from the very beginning because they weren't able to hold up their end of the bargain as far as that's why we've had so many law changes in this state, been fighting so hard because they were null and void from the get-go. The Dominion voting systems have never done what the contract said they were supposed to do from the beginning.
Okay, but so there is legitimate, genuine, I'm going to call it fear on the part of county elections boards that they could be in trouble if they...
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've heard it firsthand, not from my particular county, but I've heard it.
I think the other difference in, let's say, a state like Tennessee is, I'm going to refer back to that historical incident, the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. 1946.
Absolutely.
And I went up to Athens to kind of make a pilgrimage to where that incredible incident happened.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. You can Google, YouTube.
Yes, I've been there before.
And I was talking to one of the historiographers up there, and he told me, I asked him, do you think the reason why Tennessee has a better, more verifiable voting system than Georgia is because of what happened here in 1946? And he nodded.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, good Lord. I mean, when you talk about conservative, Tennessee is a pretty conservative state, although we have Nashville, who's growing increasingly liberal. But Memphis, Tennessee, which is a wild place in the first place. I mean, but the vast majority of your representatives there, and I'm not going to say that I would say they're more Republican than what we have in Georgia overall. Absolutely. So
I think
there's your problem.
And I think also part of the problem is that Americans in general are technophiles. They love technology, and they figure that anything computerized is better. The country of India, with 1 billion people, the nation of India, they vote how? On paper. Germany, country that is in many ways more technically developed than the United States, it's all paper. Why? Why do they vote on paper? And the reason why, and my full attitude about it, is because you have to have a voting system that everyone can understand. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry, any Jane Doe can understand paper. You see it counted at the precinct.
Supposed to be.
I don't understand your equipment here, your technological equipment here in the show you're doing. But I understand this piece of paper.
Sure. Well, I mean, look, Chris, it's just like anything, all right? And we've been asleep at the wheel. What is the number one way to keep people from looking at something is very simple, to make it complex. Take our education system. Take taxes, for example. Right? Everything has to be complicated. This is lawyer speak. This is why you would be an attorney and you have to do everything on an attorney standpoint, and why the law, it makes to where normal people don't want to look at it. They just need to trust in the system, and they need to trust that everything's going the right way, and they're going to just pay these property taxes, and we don't understand what millage rates are, and we never have understood that we had two separate millage. All of these systems in place are to be complex to make people like you and me worry about work and going home and grocery store and just forget about this, so that while we're not paying attention, well, they can do whatever they want.
Someone said to me one time, and it should be a bumper sticker, we live in the land of the criminally naive.
Yeah.
And God bless our fellow Americans, but sometimes I'm just so fed up with the whole bunch. And
Sure.
I'm one of them. Garland Favorito said the best thing ever about election integrity to me. We were sitting in maybe it was a Waffle House. He said, fair elections, they must be verified from the bottom up, not the top down. Top down is when Brad Raffensperger announces, well, this county has these results and this county has these results. We don't really know how they got there. Bottom up is you're at your precinct. You're voting with some, let's say, paper, something you can understand. You're watching the count at the end of the night. You know when someone's counting wrong, and you can call them on it. They got the tally board there. Then you know whether you like the results or not. You know in your precinct that what the results are. You send that to your county, and you're looking at it on TV or the internet, and you're looking at your precinct's results there to verify what your precinct's results are, just like everybody else in the county is verifying their precinct results on the screen, the YouTube or whatever, the live feed. And then from the county, it goes to the state. So you've got the county results, and then everyone's watching their county in the state count. My ex-girlfriend, she from Canada, and she voted for Trudeau. That's too bad. But at least Canada has like 30 million people, and paper, all on paper. They had it all counted in 4 hours. Every precinct came in, and there was no contention, no muss, no fuss. How about that?
Well, I mean, that's a great idea. Maybe you can talk to Brad Raffensperger or one of our leadership officials in the state and explain that to him, because it sounds like that would be a way that we'd have better elections.
Roy, can we talk about Donald Trump, the Trump phenomenon?
Sure.
Where is he taking us? The Musk phenomenon. Who's this guy? Donald. How much we got? Any time?
No, we're good. We'll take some time out for some comments. We got some good comments going here. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. I've never done this before.
Tell me, what's your view on all this? What's your view on the golden age? What's your view on Musk? Are you mad at Musk because he's going through all your dirty laundry?
Trump is a very complicated character for me.
Okay.
And I'd like to make a proclamation, bad guy, good guy, but I can't.
Okay.
I think that functionally he's going to do a lot of good stuff, and it's because he has to. He knows the predicament this nation is in on many different levels. But on the other hand, I mean, this stuff like making Canada the 51st state, my gosh, Canadians are fuming.
Well,
like they don't want to be Americans. Do you ever talk to a Canadian?
yeah, but I don't think. Look, and here's the
Or
thing.
what is it? Just a publicity stunt?
Yeah, he's a master of trolling. I mean, you got to trolling. That was a big troll. Just like last week, there were people up in arms about the Gaza Strip. We're talking about taking Gaza and turning it into Israel and moving. Look, most of this stuff is trolling because it goes back to the ethos of Orange Man Bad. Look, no matter what the man does, he is going to be attacked, right? It doesn't matter if he came out with the vial, just like the old Dave Chappelle comedy episode. I got the cure for AIDS, got the cure for cancer right here. It would not be enough for the outrage. It would not be enough for these liberal woke movement. It wouldn't be enough for these politicians lining their pockets. So I think that in a lot of ways you get some really good Donald Trump trolls because they're going to take every single word that the man says, no matter what, and they're going to run with it and exacerbate it.
But what do you think this, turning Gaza into a golf course and beachfront property, is this just more theatrics or?
Here's what I would say.
I mean, because the rest of the world, whatever you want to think about the situation over there, is looking at it like this is like a land grab, or what do you think is going to happen with that? Is that just theatrics, or does he really want to do it?
No, I don't think he really wants to do it. But here's the crux to that situation. So, Israel, Jews, the whole Israel Jew thing, right? And we're definitely not going into that. But there's a lot to unpack there. It's a very touchy situation in politics and in life. You know, you talk about the ADL, the Jews, the rap that they get. All right, so what I think is he's trying to open up the chasm a little bit more to have a discussion, right? So you've got the Palestinians and you've got the Israelis there together, and they've been fighting for decades upon decades upon decades, right? And we know now that most of this, the vast majority of this, is manufactured through USAID and color revolutions, and our own government stirs the pot every which way. So I think that he was mainly trolling just to bring up a situation like, how do you make these people stop hating and killing each other?
Fascinating. That's interesting. I didn't read it that way, but that's
right.
Okay,
that's the way I look at it.
Elon Musk, he's even more enigmatic. I've never seen a phenomenon like this before in all my political life.
Never.
I mean, and you earlier this evening discussed his take on AI and where he wants to go with that. Better than I've ever heard it put before. But let me say this. Why do we need a Doge when we already have a GOA, Government Office of Accounting, Inspector Generals, and what is the other one that Burt Lance was appointed to? The Office of Budget Management.
Mm-hmm. Why?
So these are already institutions with maybe some bad guys, and there might be some superfluity there with people that are just getting checks and waiting for their golden parachutes. But these are already established offices that know how to audit. That's Inspector Generals, the Government of GOA, Government Accounting Office, GAO, or whatever, and Office on Budget Management. Mm-hmm. Why do we need a Doge?
Well, I mean, obviously they haven't been doing their job. They've been taking the cookies from the cookie jar. I mean, name one establishment, name one institution that's been doing things right, especially in the last, say, 12 to 15 years. I mean, name one. Has anything gotten better? Has the FBI gotten better at their job? Has the ATF gotten better at their job? Department of Homeland Security, Department of Education, IRS.
That answer's good enough.
So,
for,
look,
that
politics,
answer's good enough for me.
Politics is nothing more than a game. It's very simple. I talk about this on the show a lot. Matt Gates set it up perfectly a few years ago. He said, you come into politics brand new, and the first people that you meet are lobbyists, of course. And they want to take you to dinner and take you to the best steakhouse in the town. And they want to introduce you to all the people. And so you go along with it. It's a free meal and you got whatever you want. And then they sit you down at a table and they say, what are your goals? What are your ambitions? What do you want to do? And you say, well, I'd like to be on this committee or that committee. And they'll be like, perfect. I've got 3 gentlemen here that are lobbyists that represent these committees. And we not only can get you on that committee, but we can supply you with all the inside information. Anything you want will be taken care of. Money, fame, whatever you want. All you have to do is you have to listen to these lobbyists and you've got to vote exactly the way that they want you to vote. And then they say, okay, well, what's my alternative? Well,
Lose the next election.
If you don't do that, then we're going to dox your family. We're going to find out what you've done in your life. We're going to exacerbate everything we can politically. We own the media. We can do whatever we want. And we'll make your life a living hell. So what choice do you have? I bring you Colton Moore. You see my point? This whole thing has been set up and standardized to steal all of our money, all of our power, and to use it for themselves for whatever they want. All of these institutions have created all of this havoc all over the world, trying to democratize this world, trying to do whatever they want by using any means necessary. And here you have the dream team of all dream teams under President Trump that's trying to say, no, we are stopping this now because we were that close to the
Okay, so you do believe it's a dream team.
I believe it's an absolute 100% dream team.
There's a commentator, her name is Whitney Webb, and, I kind of like her discussions, but, she could be off base on this one. I don't know. She suggests that in the extinguishment of USAID, which I didn't even know existed until the whole issue came up, that the corrupt functions of US aid could be reabsorbed into the oligarchy, which is now, Elon Musk and the others. But I don't know how much credence to lend to that. But
well, here's the thing you got to remember. So we have this dream team, right? We have all these promises from, let's just use Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for example. Okay, so I love Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I don't care that he was a Democrat. I love what he stood for all these years, right?
And he wrote that book, The Real Anthony Fauci.
Yeah. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been he's in. My job now is to make sure that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. does what he says he's going to do.
Because there are a lot of people like you that are watching him.
Elon Musk, for example. Elon Musk is doing outstanding with Doge. He's taken it upon himself. We got the Twitter files. He was one of the people to break the mold on showing how Mockingbird media everything was, right? Now, if Elon Musk does all this great work and in 6 months from now they come out and say that Neuralink is online and that you need to put a chip in your head, I'm going to tell Elon Musk to shove it up his hind end. If 3 months from now Donald Trump has done all these outstanding things, but then he's telling me that they're working on a brand new vaccine for some asinine pandemic they got going on here, that I'm going to tell him, no, I'm not taking the vaccine, and they can stick it up their behind. We have to hold these people accountable.
I agree with you because, and I've felt the same way for a long time. The first 4 years, 16 to 20, Americans call it Trump's 50 million voter base. We're just learning.
Exactly.
Between 2016 and now, these people are much smarter.
Well, that's correct.
And they're going to, I'm talking about millions of Americans, and they will be, like you just said, looking for signs of reneging, going back
right,
on promises, or signs that these people are
Yeah,
just really
well-
establishment hacks anyway, and then they're going to be infuriated.
Here's another cadre to this. All right, we got the MAGA movement. We got Donald Trump. 2016 to 2020 was not a real presidency. We literally only had maybe 2 years of a presidency out of him. The deep state was creating so many things until we shut down the entire world. He never even got a chance to be president. This is why you're seeing this breakneck speed. Let's fix this now. The problem is that if you're a MAGA, you get painted as a person who worships Donald Trump. He's the Messiah. Look, Donald Trump is just one man. So is Elon Musk and all these other people, just like Colton Moore or anybody else, right? If we fail to make sure and safeguard them, if we fail to be watching them and holding them accountable, then we fail all over, because it can't be just one man. It's got to be everybody. Everybody has stake in this. So my point to this is very simple. Look, Donald Trump's doing great things, but he needs to understand and know. Look, I don't know if you're on Twitter or not, but there was a lot of picks that ended up not making it to that finish line because the people were speaking out and they were listening to us for the first time. That's where we need to be.
I have felt the same way. I think I was thinking about it yesterday morning. And that is, let's say hypothetically Donald Trump was perfect.
Okay.
Perfect in almost like next to Jesus Christ. And
Lord.
all of his thoughts and all of his policy, all knowing, he still wouldn't be able to get anything done if he did not have an aware population standing with him.
Right.
Because the problems are so massive coming out of Washington and with our whole society that he can only do as well as his constituency will allow him to do.
Well,
And what that entails is the American people in general acquiring a more intellectual bearing about all of this. And when I say intellectual, I don't mean the nerdy,
No.
professor types. I'm talking about people using gray matter
Yes.
to regular people at the Waffle House, wherever, using their gray matter to talk about stuff, right. and not. If Americans resign themselves to thinking that it can't be fixed, then it won't be. And we're going to go to the literal HE double hockey sticks in a handbasket.
Well, I do agree with you, but we're leaving out one pivotal thing, and that's God. So we've had to endure the last 8 years. All right, this is a spiritual battle. All right, and never mind Trump, because Trump is a man, right? But God has allowed this judgment to be on this nation, because if it weren't for him, the rigging of 2020 and us finding out about, if Donald Trump had been president in 2020, we would not have a Doge right now. Would things be different? Possibly, but the God has allowed this to happen to give us a chance to get out of our trance. See, so a lot of this is not even in Donald Trump's control.
That's interesting. I never thought of it that way. I've never heard that.
It's the truth. Think about it.
Elon Musk. We had a conversation earlier. You have misgivings or regards where he could go with AI. And by the way, Vice President Vance yesterday in Paris made a huge speech, and it was all about AI.
Right.
And I don't want to recap, but you had a take on it that I'd never heard before.
Okay.
These are reservations you had.
Well, sure. Most people know that I talk about artificial intelligence quite a bit, because make no mistake that transhumanism and singularity is a real thing.
What do you mean?
Well, what I mean is that, let's say a year ago, I was under my own impression that we could stop some of this artificial intelligence from becoming a singularity, which is the fact that artificial intelligence will one day be basically a singular being. It'll be an entity unto itself. It'll be able to think. It'll be able to do all these things, and it'll be able to do it a whole lot more powerful than we are. We're already there. These computer systems, these artificial intelligence systems, are already to the point where they can outthink us and outsmart us. So what my
Are you kidding me?
no, I'm absolutely not. You can look it up. You can look up anything.
They can't do your show.
I beg to differ. They probably could.
They can't run that courthouse over there.
No, they can't.
They can't be a judge and jury.
But here's the problem. So the next evolution of human beings is going to be singularity. And it's whether we want it or not, which man and machine will merge together. Okay? So how do we go about that? Ensuring that the human race doesn't become post-human. Okay? Because it's a very big possibility. So who controls that? Is it going to be a push from an Elon Musk type figure that is going to ensure that man and machines work together? Or is it going to be done by an entity of a global elitist who just want to depopulate the planet and use the machines to replace us? Which is a very real possibility. But make no mistake, it's not a matter of if any longer. It will happen. But we don't know how it's going to happen. And the problem with artificial intelligence is what I tell all my people, is that you need to understand that without it, if America was just to say we're done with artificial intelligence, we're not going to use it anymore, we're going to get rid of it.
Sounds good to me.
Exactly. I would love it. But you know what would happen to this country is that we would be taken over in a heartbeat because artificial intelligence is the next kingdom.
We'd be taken over by who in a heartbeat?
By anybody. Russia, China, who are already years ahead in their societies because they don't have a constitution.
Yeah, but just because, let's say we didn't have AI and Russia and China do, and we still have the Second Amendment. We can,
well,
we
there
still
you go.
can build we could build a fighter plane if it didn't cost $1 billion for an F-35. What do we need artificial intelligence to?
Well, to safeguard the human population. Because what's the next step? Well, it's nuclear annihilation. I mean, hands down. We came so close to that to begin with.
I like Colonel Douglas McGregor. You see any of his stuff? And he said something one time, and I don't know if it sounded credible to me, that there's no AI that can replace the incredibly sophisticated thinking process of a soldier on the battlefield.
I would certainly hope he's right. But statistically, I don't know if I can agree with that. I mean, it's a realization that we're going to have to get comfortable with. I mean, our whole lives are we're artificially projecting ourselves out onto the internet right now. Everything's around us. Our phones have become another part of our body.
Okay,
right?
what about
extension?
What about legislation, firewalls?
You don't have any of that.
Like control rods in a nuclear reactor. Can we have any of that? Can that be talked about by any statesman?
Well,
people with guts and.
I'm hoping that in the future having an Elon Musk style, like people there that are well versed in it, can help craft what we need to craft to keep it peaceful. That's my hope, because a year ago I would have said we could stop some of this, but we're not going to be able to stop it. So how we control it in the future, and this is why you have J.D. Vance bringing it up, you have Trump bringing it up. These people are talking because what we know about artificial intelligence, we're probably 10 steps ahead from what they know about it, what the companies know about it. So it's going
Who's
to.
we are 10 steps ahead?
We're the we're down here, right? We get the brand new phone that you buy in the store. There's already 3 versions of that phone that's already sophisticated, 10 times more waiting, because it's a money game. The computers we use, they're talking about quantum computing and things. I mean, they've already got a lot of this technology, and we don't know about that, of course. But I believe that the reason you're hearing more talk about artificial intelligence is because it is the next big wave. I mean, if you look at any of the futurists that have books that can talk, nowadays, they'll tell you that singularity is up, 15 years from now, 2045.
What if we all became neo-Luddites? You know who the Luddites were?
Yes.
There was a movement in the early 1800s
right.
that retarded the loom textile industry in England because it was putting out of business all of the small weavers that were making cloth. And they got up and they went into the factories and demolished these mechanical looms, and it set back the textile industry like 20 years, and they were successful. Now, they were.
Right.
Now, let me tell you a story. I'm kind of a neo-Luddite myself. So I got a 4G phone here, right? It's right here. Xfinity. Hopefully they won't cancel my phone after this discussion. So I went in to get a new phone, and I said, I want a 4G phone. You've heard bad things about the 5G, right? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. I don't know technically, but supposedly it can mess up your brain waves or something. I just wanted a 4G phone. They had one on the shelf, but they made me wait. They said, well, we got a 5G phone right here. You can walk away with it right now. I said, no, I want the 4G phone. Well, you have one right on the shelf. Activate it now, please. I need a phone. They made me wait 4 days. I was 4 days without a phone. But that's because I wanted the 4G and I got it. Mm-hmm. That's neo-Luddism.
Right. Well, I mean, they made a movie about that with technology, Terminator 2. You know, they came back.
Someone told me to see that movie.
Oh wow! If you've never seen it, that'll answer your question. Right
someone
there.
said see exactly that movie. Okay, so what else are we talking about?
All right, yeah,
tonight?
let's hit one more topic because we're about an hour 6, and then we'll do comments. How does that sound?
Okay. What's that? Oh, on my list.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Pick anything else out you want.
All right. What media do you consume? Who do you like? I'll tell you who I like.
I've no secret about this. The number one channel to me in like the world that I can't live without is a channel called Truth Stream Media. Aaron and Melissa Dykes.
I'm writing that down right now.
They produce absolutely the best content ever, and I share a lot of stuff from Truth Stream Media because. I hands down, of course. I mean, I'm an info warrior. I watch InfoWars all the time.
What about Alex Jones?
Yeah.
He kind of started it all.
Well, he's the tip of the spear, like you said. So obviously, I got into Alex Jones back in 2004.
I got problems with him though.
Well, sure, we got problems with everybody. He's a human. He's infallible, So
he's fallible.
I mean, he is fallible, but you can't deny what he's been able to create over the last 3 decades. I mean, everything derives from InfoWars. And so we try to hold him accountable like everybody else, and we try to hope that he stays on the right path.
Okay, what about NPR?
I listen to NPR. I started listening to NPR when I was roughly 7 years old. And I listened to it all the way up until my late 20s. I loved NPR. I thought they had some of the best programming that This American Life, Ira Glass, the Saturday. The problem is if
they're a bunch of communists.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's completely Marxist. They're completely bought and paid for. It's state-run media. And if you ever notice about NPR, if it's a Republican president, they only cover things that are going on in the world. There are always wars, everything. They don't ever cover anything on the home front. But as a Democrat president, it's all about what's going on in the rioting and all of the liberalism that.
But why should we listen to NPR? And
yeah.
I do. Why?
Yeah. Well, I guess you listen to them because you want the counter argument.
One must consume the media stuff that offends you.
Sure.
Because
absolutely.
if you don't listen to the bad guys, I'm going to call NPR the bad guys.
They are.
The reason why you listen to them is to know what
you
they're
want
up
to know what the narrative is. Absolutely.
Even though, I guess I'm a glutton for punishment, but I mean, I pound my dashboard going down the road.
Well, yeah, it's hard to listen to, and the funny thing is once you're awakened, you can't unhear it. But I will say another one that I listen to is Asha Logos. Asha Logos is another channel that I can't live without.
I like Breaking Points.
Mm-hmm.
I like Redacted.
Yeah, Redacted's okay. I like it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Tim Pool. They're not the cat's meow. I mean, they're not the whole ball of wax.
No.
But you just go around. Who else do I like? anything Douglas McGregor. Colonel,
Yeah, I
that's
like
all
Douglas
Colonel
McGregor.
Douglas McGregor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so you said we have.
Yeah. Yes, we've got some comments. So we're going to go ahead to the comments tonight. We had a few people watching. My mouse will bear with me here. Here we go. All right, let's go back up here. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. We got some people in here with us tonight. Carol Streeter, good to see you. Carol's on fire on Facebook, man. She's all over the place. I like that.
What does that mean?
She's hitting it hard. You know, we got some really good people out there hitting it hard, and
Hitting what hard?
the
show?
controversy. No,
Oh,
hitting
the controversy
hitting
in
the
general.
topics of the day. I don't know, Carol. I don't think that we've ever met, Carol, but I pay attention to your stuff. So, Anthony Smatachew, my boy. Hey, good to see you, brother. It's good to see you too, and we're gonna have you on the show soon. Thank you for sharing, Carol. John Milliken, my man John Milliken says, I hauled a pickup truckload of dirt and fertilizer to Saddle Ridge Elementary for them to teach agriculture and how to grow vegetables. But now it's full of weeds.
Where's Saddle Ridge?
It's an elementary school up
Walker
here.
County?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe that has a relation to that.
It could have. That's probably
What
what
I
he
was talking about
John
earlier.
was talking about. So they did create some outdoor stuff. They have an outdoor pond, and they were doing some agricultural stuff, growing flowers and stuff. I don't know what the state of it is, because my child was going to that school and since graduated. So it's something to check into. I mean, obviously we need to get back to that sort of thing, especially with the younger children.
And we don't need AI to do it.
No, we don't. No. Jennifer Jones Hilligus, one of my favorite people. Good to see you. She says, hey, Roy and Chris, great to see Chris on your show. It's been fun. I really enjoyed it. Carol says they are using drones here in Marion County, Georgia, spraying. So, you know, I've heard quite a bit about drones spraying lately. I mean, a lot of you people out there have kept up with my little, UFO experience. And I actually had another one not too long ago, and I haven't shared with anybody. I have a video of it, but it's a moot point. But I can tell you that I saw something up in the sky spraying plumes of stuff out at night, which was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Maybe
but
new brands of poison.
it could be, who knows? And it was
stepping up.
right over the center of town.
They're adding
and
things to the list.
I'm telling you, I don't know, but then again, what would be the point of me coming out and doing this, because nobody's going to listen anyway? But I don't doubt that we have some drone spraying.
More Jennifer.
So, Jennifer says, yes, when I go around telling people that we can beat election fraud ourselves through grand jury and tacticalcivics.com, and they look at me like a deer in headlights. Yes, they do. They do. There's a
But
lot.
she did tell me that in her area, Rome, that there are more people
People are.
paying attention
People
and
are.
kind of joining the
There's a
grand jury there.
There's a lot of movement out there about the grand jury and stuff. In fact, we should get Jennifer back on the show and do another Tactical Civics episode at some point. There's all other organizations that are working around the clock to bring people in, and I think it's a great thing. So
All it takes is one county grand jury to swear in their DA and ask them to remove themselves from the courthouse, then swear in Mark Swanson because he can show them the evidence in less than 4 hours.
that is 100% correct.
I don't know exactly what's going on in
Mark
Rome.
Swanson is an activist out of Floyd County, and he's doing some great things. And he's kind of been left out there in the wind per se, but he is fighting tooth and nail a county which I would consider as very establishment and very. They're doing their own thing, and they could care less what you think. So Mark is a great activist, and we're going to be seeing great things from Mark. Mark will be back on the show with us as we continue to break down his situation he's got going on here. But I like Mark a lot, and he's a very brave dude, and he is fighting tooth and nail. So Lisa Adams, good to see you, Lisa. She said our leadership doesn't give a poop about our state, they run from us, and we've got the videos to prove it. So Jennifer Jones Hilligus says anyone watching this show that gets summoned to be in grand jury better contact Mark Swanson, and you can contact me too. I will help the grand jury write the remedy to the Georgia legislatures and make them impeach Secretary of State and unplug and destroy the machines and get us paper ballots. We will absolutely be referring anybody over. I don't think I'll ever get called for another jury duty summons again, but that remains to be seen.
Well, grand jury, a lot of people don't know the difference between a grand jury and a trial jury.
That's true. That's true. I've never been called for a grand jury. So let's see. Jennifer says, AI is coming, y'all. We need to take this serious. The left wants us voting on our dang cell phones. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You got to understand, while we fight for election integrity and use paper ballots, not only is there a huge push for cell phone voting and artificial voting on computers from home, but you have an entire ranked choice voting that's probably just got funding cut from USAID, where they've been going all over the nation trying to get us into this ranked choice voting system and just completely bypass what we have. So the fight is on multiple levels. I just don't think that our state ever counted on us stupid peasants to continue this fight.
Why don't you like ranked choice voting? And it's not a loaded question.
Yeah, that's fine.
I actually don't know enough about
it. Well, ranked choice voting, what it does is it's basically a way to manipulate the vote. So if you've got 5 people running for one position, the way ranked choice voting works is that you might have the top first spot and the second spot, right? 50 votes to 38 votes. Well, the other 3, their votes get canceled out, and then they give those votes to the top 2, and you vote again, and and it's pretty crazy to watch it. And it makes good sense on paper.
More complications.
Very much more complications. Much easier because you're taking the vote away from the other voters and giving votes to other people. It can lead to a lot of corruption.
Right. Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly. They're trying to what? Complex the system even more. So let's see. Yeah, Jennifer Jones Hilligan is talking about Clay Parikh. They hacked the machine with Raffy's attorney's ink pen. So if you've never seen that, that's an incredible video to watch.
Okay.
I'll make sure you get a link to that. Carol Streeter says, Jennifer Jones Hilligan, I tried to petition the grand jury of Marion County numerous times, and the DA of the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit took my petition. It disappeared even after being in 3 different court hearings where the Marion County, Georgia Clerk of the Superior Court, Joy Smith, refused to stamp it. These rural counties will make documents disappear. So,
wow, she did a lot of work. Probably a lot of work collecting signatures.
There's several counties that's been trying to do this.
That's a lot of work.
And Jennifer says, we, the people, can break that contract because grand jury is the enforcement tool to protect our God-given rights and investigate election fraud. All right. Earl Klein, good to see you this evening. He said, President Trump wants paper ballots to be used again. He's brought it up.
Yes.
I'm loving that,
Well, because he was screwed over.
Well, he knows.
In Fulton County, Georgia.
Fulton County, Georgia. He was screwed over by the phone. He was impeached over a phone call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
By the way, I listened to that whole 45-minute phone call on YouTube, and there was absolutely no indication that Trump was trying to strong arm.
No, of course not.
Strong arm. And so they took that one statement, you can find 20,000 votes, out of context.
Exactly.
If you listen to it, there's no indication of strong arming, like I said. But anyway.
You're 100% correct. Sharon Holland, thank you for watching. Sharon, I appreciate you so much. Jennifer Jones Hilligan says, replying, Carol S. Streeter, there's a different way to do it. Call me tomorrow. So she's left her phone number out there, and you guys can use it if you're interested in checking out what she's talking about. She says, I know I have entered every politician in the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit who is corrupt. Randy Robertson helped create the bill about DAs, and that was to protect the Chattahoochee Judicial Circuit. So obviously, we've got a lot of problems in our in our law in this country. So, and good. It looks like we've got a couple people hooked up to work together. That's wonderful, wonderful to see that. And Jennifer lists out committed a felony according to Georgia Code 10693 and 10694. It's all punishable by prison time, which is another thing, a responsibility is we need to be looking at our Georgia Code, our Georgia Constitution. We need to be getting more familiar with how these things work.
Well, it needs to be taught in the Walker County school system tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yesterday.
I agree. Carol says, you should see how we have magistrate judge named Janice Daniels, who has never had to qualify for the position, never had to campaign, and has a retirement plan. Okay. So you've never seen her name on a ballot. Wow. So let's see. People in your county need to get organized and trained. Looks like we've got some people that are hooking up. That's wonderful. Wonderful. If the people that helped Trump get elected would take that energy and use it to be a member of tacticalcivics.com and get trained, we the people can get rid of all corruption in our towns and counties. So it's definitely looking into, folks. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Yes, they are trying to normalize transhumanism, and we will be called bigots if we do not accept them. Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I think they're probably gonna make it where it's almost impossible not to. So let's hope we've got protections in place right now to corral it in.
There's David Smith.
And don't ever be sorry for blowing up the comments, Jennifer. It's fine. And David Smith, good to have you tonight. He says, great show, Roy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know him?
And I do not.
That's good.
Yeah, I do know. Well,
that's
David.
good when people start replying who you don't know.
That's greasy boots.
People in Alaska start. We have anyone from Alaska?
It's different because it was YouTube. Yes, I got you. I'm used to the YouTube comments being on, but I appreciate it. Jennifer says, I will be happy to come back on the show. Awesome. So, great comments tonight. Glad that you guys could spend Saturday evening with us, and we're going to wrap it up here in just a sec. So
how many minutes we got? 2?
We just got a couple. So I tell you what, I always give my guests the last word. So you have the last word.
Roy, I have nothing to sell here. People in Chattooga County, Walker County, start buying this stuff. Silver, like I said, I'm not a silver outlet. Silver, I believe it's going to go through the roof. This is a 1964 Kennedy $50. I was 8 years old when they took the silver out of our money and turned it into copper. That was in 1965. 64 was the last year. And I wasn't politically conscious at 8 years old.
Right.
Like, everyone was talking about it. My parents were talking about it. My neighbors were talking about it, and they knew that the federal government was taking the money away. It was silver. And for many reasons, it's artificially depressed. Just buy it, because the other stuff's just paper. And have fun with it.
I got you.
I could talk for an hour about silver, but we've had 2 more minutes.
Perhaps on another show. That'd be good. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming in. And you drove up here from Clarkston, Georgia. We appreciate you being here on Saturday night. And, folks, we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Our regular show will pick back up Wednesday. I got a couple I'm working on
Roy,
a couple.
I've been working on you for a long time to get up here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. We got some couple, I can't talk about it now, but we got a couple of bombshell shows coming up. I will be on War Room, Gwinnett County Tuesday with Antonio, dropping some more truth there. And as always, you can go givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground. That's how you can support the channel. We appreciate everybody out there, and we're going to get out of here and finish off the weekend. So I think I'll be seeing you. I don't think I'll be seeing you before Wednesday, but we'll have some good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks. So
bye all. Thank you.
You guys have a good evening.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said, to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.